Greece has dramatically voted yes to humiliating bailout terms which will see the country stay in the euro. The Greek parliament passed a raft of austerity measures to secure a 3-year European bailout despite the agreement coming 2 hours after the deadline. It means that other European parliaments can now vote on the plan, too. The agreement followed violent clashes in the country's capital last night as protesters hurled petrol bombs at riot police after surrounding the Athens parliament ahead of the final deadline for the country's €86 billion bailout deal. As flames erupted, police responded with tear gas against dozens of hooded anti-austerity demonstrators who set ablaze parts of Syntagma Square. Ultimately, the bailout terms were agreed after 229 of the country's 300 MPs backed the yes vote. But it wasn't all good news for Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras, as many of the 64 NOS were members of his own party. In what was a bruising night for the country's premier, 32 of the 149 members of the radical left-wing Syriza rejected the measures. A government official has insisted that Tsipras will not resign despite the hit, although he had said he would step down if he did not gather the support of more than 121 of his Syriza MPs. He ended up with the backing of 124. Former Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis and House Speaker Zoe Konstantopoulou were among the big names to vote no to the reforms. Varoufakis, who quit his post last week, had earlier said the deal was a new Versailles Treaty haunting Europe, while Konstantopoulou called it a coup that could cause social genocide. On the eve of the deadline, it had looked increasingly likely that the parliament would approve the measures, in large part thanks to pro-European opposition parties. But in a sign of growing dissent among the Greek people, hundreds of armor-clad officers were forced to use pepper spray to fight back youths in a 12,000-strong crowd who were hurling Molotov cocktails and rocks at them. The youths had mingled with ordinary protesters when crowds gathered as MPs met last night to vote on austerity measures required for the latest European bailout. Many of the mask-wearing protesters carried wooden bats and pieces of smashed paving stones, in the worst clashes seen since Tsipras' left-wing government was formed 6 months ago. Police said about 50 protesters had been detained outside the parliament building. Inside, Tsipras made a final appeal to Parliament for support of the tough package of bailout measures imposed by European partners this week, telling lawmakers there was no alternative, even though he disagreed with the measures. "We don't believe in it, but we are forced to adopt it," Tsipras told deputies before a vote on the measures, which had to be approved by Parliament for European partners to agree to open talks on a new multi-billion euro bailout. He said he would not shirk his responsibilities and would push forward with political and social reforms and the fight against corruption.